All right, let's crack open the case file on what has to be one of the strangest, most psychologically loaded rituals ever documented. We're talking about the birth of a bizarre entity called the Emerald Phantasm. And this event? It's the starting gun for something called a sovereign renaissance. So, right from the get-go, the motive is laid bare. Let's be clear, this ritual was not an act of kindness. Not at all. It's described as a new, dangerous selfishness, and its whole purpose was to dig up and unleash everything that's been repressed. So, to really get what went down here, we've got to look at two things: the who and the where, the subject and the scene of the crime, so to speak. So let's dive into Act 1, the descent. Okay, so every single move the jester makes here is just dripping with intention. He goes down into this vault and he grabs his scepter, which is called a libidinal totem. What does that mean? Well, think of it like an antenna for raw, primal desire. It's basically a physical extension of his will, channeling this intense desire to just wipe the modern industrial world off the map. And this is absolutely key to understanding the whole thing. The subterranean vault, it's not a real physical place you can visit. No, it's a psychological stage, a dark theater that represents the deepest, most hidden parts of our collective psyche, all the stuff we, as a society, push down and try to forget. So this descent into the psychological depths, it's all leading up to the main event. Act 2, the Emerald Fusion Ritual. This is the moment it all kicks off, a kind of psychic explosion designed for one thing: destruction. The ritual itself follows this really clear, almost poetic three-step process. First, you stare right into the void, into total nothingness. Second, you get this bizarre fusion of two powerful symbolic figures, the Gremian spirit and the high priest. And finally, the third step is to summon this new being, the redeemed judge, an entity that can only be born from the complete and utter collapse of modern progress. And you've got to understand, this wasn't just chaos for the sake of chaos. It was a verdict. The jester saw our whole system of morality as this massive prison, a god-sized cage. This ritual? It was his sentence, his judgment against that entire system. And the result of all this? It's not some beautiful new creation. Oh no, it's a grotesque parody of creation. What's born from this ritual is a sentinel of failure, basically a ghost that's doomed to haunt the ruins of our own arrogance. All right, so this thing now exists. The obvious question is, what exactly is it? That brings us to Act 3, where we're going to put the phantasm under the microscope. At its absolute core, the phantasm is the embodiment of a psychoanalytic concept you might have heard of, the Thanatos drive, the death drive. It's that deep, primal impulse in all of us that pulls away from life, away from growth, and just wants to return to the simple, quiet stillness of non-existence. You know, like a rock. And this slide just lays out the cosmic struggle perfectly. On one side, you've got Wotan, this force of creation, called the arrow of longing. It's all about striving, becoming, moving forward. And on the other side, the phantasm, the stagnant lead. It's the complete opposite: regression, stillness, a dead weight pulling everything down. So when they talk about the return of the repressed, this is what they mean. The phantasm is literally the chaos from the abyss, bubbling up and threatening to crack the nice, polished floors of our orderly lives. It's every dark thought, every primal fear that society shoves into the basement, suddenly breaking down the door. Okay, but what does this thing actually do? I mean, what's its function? Well, that's what we get into in Act 4. And the answer is, it's not some mindless beast. It's a mirror. And it's a very specific kind of mirror. It holds up this dangerous and grinning reflection to anyone who's just huddled up in the marketplace of comfort. Its mean target is what's called the last man. That's the type of person who values total safety and security above all else, who would do anything to avoid the pain and agony that comes with real, transformative risk. So, to the average person, what the text calls the herd, the phantasm is straight-up cosmic horror. Why? Because it completely shatters that comforting lie we tell ourselves, that our world is small, knowable, and safe. Its very existence is a direct assault on that illusion. All right, let's try to get inside this thing's head, if you can even call it that. Act 5 is all about its core logic, its philosophy, and it really boils down to a doctrine of pure absolute denial. This philosophy actually has a name, odium fati. It literally means hatred of fate. Think of it as a profound, deep-seated hatred for a destiny that forces you to constantly burn with the fire of creation, to always be striving. It's really just the Thanatos drive, the death drive, but given a poetic, terrifying name. And the difference in worldview here is just staggering. On the one hand, you have forces like the archangels who see existence as this beautiful geometry that needs to be built and forged. The Phantasm, it looks at all of existence and just sees a mathematical error, a mistake that needs to be erased. And that right there is the fundamental conflict at the heart of this whole thing. You have the drowning deep, that's the Phantasm, rising up to extinguish the fire of the spire. And that fire, that's everything: ambition, creation, life itself. Which brings us to the end of our case file. Act 6. This is the final verdict, the wrap-up on this whole bizarre affair. And what it reveals is that this entire spectacle was the Sapphire Jester's final and most tragic joke. This timeline really tracks the Jester's devolution, I guess. He starts out as this powerful figure of self-creation, a mountain man of self-love. But after his descent, after the ritual, he becomes something totally different. He becomes the architect of a temple built to honor pure nothingness. In the end, the Phantasm's creation reveals a truly terrifying truth. And it's right there in the quote. The hero and the herd are identical in their flight from the void. It suggests that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're a great hero or just one of the crowd. Everybody is running scared from the exact same emptiness. But make no mistake, this story is not over. Not by a long shot. The ritual didn't end the conflict. It just started a new, much bigger one. Now Wotan, that hero figure of creation, has to face this new spectral rival, which is, in a way, a twisted, distorted mirror of himself. And so the case file closes, leaving us with one final haunting question. It's like a cosmic wager has been placed, pitting the fire of life against the crushing depths of non-existence. Can a star burn underwater when it's faced with absolute, total negation? That's the question we're left to ponder.